The Plowzone radio show broadcasting around the world from our Northern California studio.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to the Plowzone video show on Roku TV, on Otel Music Videos, and we have again the man himself, Mr. Jon Hammond. Fingers, I guess?
Fingers of the singers. Yeah,
All
we
right.
don't have any singers in the band, you know, and
That's right.
I used to back up singers, but I just want to clear one thing up to the listeners and watchers out there right away. Some people confuse me with the singer Jon Hammond, and I'm Jon Hammond. I'm the organ player, accordion player, and I got a cable TV show in New York. You know.
And now tell us about that.
Yeah, February 4th we start our 42nd year, and I'm on tonight actually. You know, in Manhattan, and we broadcast all over the world now, streaming. But when we started out, it was Time Warner, and it was called MCTV, which was Manhattan Cable TV. Manhattan was one of the first cable networks in the country. So at that time in 1984, all you had was a set-top box and a knob that you turned it to letters. So we were right on the dial with A, B, C, D, E, which were like, you know, NBC, ABC, CBS,
Right.
CNN, MTV came in around that time too, you know.
Right.
So, and you turned the dial and we were right there. It was,
So what's the show about?
it's music, travel, and soft news. Yeah, I decided early on that I didn't want to be a hard news journalist. And actually, one of the reasons I started the Jon Hammond show was because I was working with a good friend of mine who's one of the best guitarists in the world. And he had a #1 record that he played on. And he couldn't get a record deal after this whole thing transpired. So I thought, well, we ought to be able to get him a record deal. And I started Backbeat Productions. And then I was courting some of the presidents and, you know,
Really?
the people who do the what do they call repertoire, you know, for the labels, major labels. I live in New York in the Midtown, and I was reaching all the top guys, and I take them out to lunch, and we could, you know, at that time, like, we had cassettes, that was about it, you know, and I was giving them demos of the music, and literally going broke doing that, you know. So I was getting mad, you know.
Right.
I said, these guys are passing on really great music, and I was running out of dough. So I was thinking, hey, I got my own music. I've been pushing this other music before for a while. My money's running out, so I'm going to record some of my tunes and get busy with that. And instead of going and meeting these record label people, I heard about cable access TV, and you know, with a cable access, you have a cable that plugs right into your TV. It's just like plugging right in there with the
Right to everyone.
you know, with the direct audio, right? So I decided I'm going to put my music on TV, cable TV, and send it into the same living rooms and bedrooms of the same record presidents that I was going out to lunch with.
That's right.
And they would hear it and say, didn't that music pass across my desk a couple months ago, right? And sure enough, you know, we went on the air, and my girlfriend at the time, she was one of the greatest video editors in New York, and we did it in broadcast quality in a studio that cost like $1,000 or more an hour.
An hour drive.
To get in this online room, you know, and we put in hundreds and thousands of hours on my show. So when the network people saw my show with the graphics and the music and my first voiceovers, I actually was on my way to the airport. I did it on a thing without a pop filter or anything, and so I was popping a few P's, you know, but man, we went over the air, and within 2 months I heard from Billboard magazine, you know.
Really?
So we got a nice article in Billboard magazine. I was invited to the offices of Billboard, and I got an interview with Kim Freeman, and that went out on my birthday in 1984. And then the phone was ringing off the hook, you know.
Just so you put it on cable TV, and then from getting all that exposure, you started getting all the leads and all that stuff.
The phone was ringing off the hook, and guess who was calling?
All the labels.
People that wanted jobs.
Everybody wants a job.
You know, and people were ready to work for us for free even, you know. I didn't want the responsibility of these folks, you know, so we've been pretty small operation, and that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, we're a pretty small operation ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of brings in the, you know, you're really caring about the music, you're caring about your content that you're putting out, and being in control of that, I think, is a really important, very important.
Right, it really is. Because my first album came out on a German label, and what happened was it was a really beautiful artwork, really high quality. It was manufactured at BOD, which is Berlin Optical Disc. And what happened was we got the first test discs, and I put it in the machine, I pressed play, nothing happened. And it took us years to figure out why those discs didn't work. They worked in some machines not. I went to Germany to push the record, and I had a big conversation with the label about that. They remanufactured them, and they had surmised that the weight of the disc
Was different?
was a little bit too heavy. So then they made a slightly lighter disc, and those were better, but they still didn't all work. So I had product out there. Sometimes I hear from people, you know, I paid a lot of money for your record and it doesn't work, you know, and that was a problem.
That is a problem.
We went on American Forces Network Radio. I did some broadcasting on AFN radio, which is like Voice of America. It's big time, you know. And I said, man, if we put the record in and a hit button and it doesn't play, that's really going to be a lot of people who know about it.
Yes, definitely.
So when I got the rights to the music back, it was all a learning experience. It was all good. I'm still in really good spirit with the folks I put the record out with.
Right.
We remastered it. And I think after all these years, what happened was they told me the maximum amount of music that I could put on the disc. And we maxed it out, you know, close to 80 minutes, right?
Right, I was going to say, you can put a lot on there.
And I think that caused some problems. We should have made it shorter album, you know.
So how many albums have you put out? 4 albums?
Yeah.
And now you're out, you're playing one-off shows, or you're doing a regular...
My main work is this is for about the last 25 years. I play regularly in care facilities, i.e. Skilled nursing, 24-hour skilled nursing places.
Really?
Memory care, rehab hospitals, adult daycare.
Good.
And that sort of thing.
Well,
you know?
music bring back the memories. I mean, someone
Does, yeah.
has a dementia or something, and you can play that.
I don't call myself a music therapist. I'm just a musician, you know. There are people who have degrees in it, and my hat's off to them, you know. We know one thing. People that deal with folks that have had brain injuries and they can't speak, many of them can still sing Happy Birthday, right?
That's true. Very true.
So that's in a little nutshell, that's the power of the music, you know.
Agreed.
And I see the power of the music every time I play for people who are, you know, they could be on a lot of medication, or they might have memory problems, or Parkinson's, or whatever. And I come in and play the music. I just talk to them like regular people. I tell the same lousy jokes, you know. And I try to play with everything I have.
Right.
And from here, and it doesn't matter if I'm playing for 5 people, 50 people, or 5,000 people. My dad used to tell me, and he was a physician too, you know. He used to say, "You're only as good as your last gig," you know.
Not the truth.
So
Definitely.
I always have my dad's voice in my head telling me that, and I try to do the job every time as best as I can.
That's right.
You know,
Well,
every gig is important.
Well, every gig doesn't matter if there's one person or 1,000, but I think music is definitely a universal language that everyone can understand, and it can bring everyone together, and that's the beauty of music.
Yeah, and E flat is pretty much the same E flat all over the world, you know.
Right,
and, that's the thing with music, with vocalized music, with a vocalist. I lived in Paris. I lived in Europe for 6 years. I did 33 years in a row playing over in Europe.
Wow.
You know. And when I lived in Paris, there's some great musicians over there, but they don't understand why their music doesn't get over in USA. And
Which is?
I had to tell them, you know. The reason why is they don't understand you. You know, but they could be a big star in France, you know.
Right.
And it's a beautiful language. It's very romantic and expressive, you know. But I decided a long time ago, I worked with some famous musicians. I worked with some little-known people, but as an organist, the organ is kind of a singing instrument, you know. And it doesn't matter if I have a cold or I feel great on a day. When I hit a high C, it's the same high C every day, you know. And I decided I love the combination of saxophone and organ and guitar and different instruments.
Harmonica?
And harmonica. I have one of the greatest harmonica players in the world.
Yes, definitely. We saw him the other day. Incredible.
Koei Tanaka.
Great,
And Tanaka-san, he's my friend a long time. He's a real master of chromatic and diatonic harmonica. He's also a good friend of Stevie Wonder's. And the folks who manufacture my instrument, Suzuki took over Hammond, and Suzuki makes the harmonicas that Stevie Wonder plays. And Koei Tanaka was introduced to me years ago in Mr. Suzuki's office in Hamamatsu, Japan.
Wow.
And we played a concert for the factory. And we've been good friends ever since. So he flew in from Tokyo
To play with you.
Yeah, the night before the gig, you know.
That's dedication right there. That's a true musician right there to come that far. That's probably one of the longest people who had to travel, I would think, from Japan.
I know some travelers, you know. One friend of mine, Alex Foster, he's in the Saturday Night Live band for a long time. And he was commuting from Greece to New York
to do the show,
to play the show, and then his family was in Greece, so he was commuting from Greece to New York. You know, that's a lot of miles there.
Wow.
But you know, the world is growing smaller all the time through technology and jet travel. You know?
Definitely. I mean, now you could. Before you would have to have someone maybe buy your record and watch your TV show. Now you put it on the internet and your followers and everyone sees it, which is it's great.
You know, I'm an active member in ASCAP. I'm a longtime member of the Musicians Union, American Federation of Musicians, in 3 different locals now. Local 802 is the biggest one, and I'm a vested member in the union. 802 is New York City and the surrounding area. Local 6, San Francisco Bay Area, and merged with San Jose. And then we have Local 47, it's the second biggest. I'm a member of all 3.
Wow.
And so after a while, if you play enough union gigs, you become a vested member of the union, and you get a modest pension. And you know, it's a really beautiful thing.
It is.
But see, with the streaming,
that's
because I'm in ASCAP, so I see both sides, because I'm a broadcaster and I'm also a rights guy, you know, and you have to protect the rights of your music, you know.
Right.
But like, I have an agent for my streaming music, and I don't get a lot of money from that. But these are folks who I never saw. I never met them. Maybe I'll meet them, maybe I won't meet them. But they heard my music, and then maybe I get a few pennies from their listen. But if it adds up, you get a check for $20. That's a lot of people listen to it, right?
Very true. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
What do you get? Like what?
So it trickles in. I see the good side of the streaming, and on the other side, We had Roseanne Cash, who, by the way, is here right
is she?
now. Yeah, she's the honoree for the American Eagle Awards.
Oh,
this
really?
time, yeah. And what happened? She came to speak to us at ASCAP. I'm a composer publisher. She had one song that had been streamed, I don't know how many times, but over 1 million,
Millions.
right? And she received $175, right?
Now, I mean,
For real.
the artist did everything. The artist created it, made it, produced it, said, hey, Spotify or whoever, listen to it. And they make 99% of the money, and they get a 1%.
It's a real gray area.
It is a gray area.
And you have armies of young lawyers who are rights, working on
Advocates.
rights. And, I've been broadcasting now going on 42 years, and I managed to stay out of hot water all these years. And I understand the ins and the outs of it, but I managed to stay out of it because I realized that if I'm going to broadcast my own music, I'm the source. So people can rip me off all they want or borrow my music. We call it borrowing, right? Because no matter what happens, I'm the source.
Correct.
And it always comes back to me one way or another. I worked with Bernard Purdy for a good 10 years. Bernard Purdy is the most sampled drummer in the world, He's on thousands of records, But he said the same thing to me. I'm the source, So at first he was a little annoyed, people were sampling. Then after a while you go, well, that's a good thing,
They're inspired by him. This is his style.
It's good and bad.
Yep.
It's all new.
You take the good, take the good with the bad, the yin with the yang is
That's
what it's all
right.
about. That's what it's all about.
I own my own music, so I have a lot of stuff that I can work with, and I want to tell you,
Yes.
Scott, first of all, we're in the world of Scots, I met these two guys last year. They're both named Scott, and you can't confuse them. But it's nice because some of my best friends have always been Scots, And I want to tell you, I had a radio show on CBS AM radio station for 4 years, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And during the time I was broadcasting on CBS, all my shows had to be sent to New York to legal and then cleared by them or certain things deleted, right?
Right.
So it took me a while to realize, and by the way, my program director was Stephen Page. This guy was way ahead of his time. I met Stephen Page when he had Liquid Audio. Okay, look up Liquid Audio.
Liquid Audio, okay.
Yeah, Liquid Audio was iTunes before there was iTunes, right?
Right.
So he called me up and he said, how'd you like to do a show? And I know what you do, and we knew each other from a long time before. And he never really told me what to do. I didn't even own a computer at the time. I went and bought my Apple, and I went down to Apple and got trained how to use GarageBand to produce the show. So anyway, it took me a while to realize that because I was protected by CBS Legal, I could play anything on there, and they paid the rights.
Oh, really?
So I could play Stevie Wonder, the London Philharmonic Orchestra,
Wow.
anything I wanted, So I started playing everything that I grew up and loved playing, Motown music and everything, and I was covered by CBS, So that was nice, and that lasted 4 years. They only thought it would last 2 years. But I run into people all the time that used to listen to my show, and you can find some of them still online. It was called Hammond Cast.
Okay.
And I own the domain hammondcast.com, But I had so much fun doing the radio show. I had Danny Glover on my show. I had people that you never heard of. I had a lot of famous people, not famous. I had so much fun doing radio, and I always thought if I couldn't be a musician, I'd like to be a radio guy, because that's how I got into music. And so that you're doing what
I
you're
did
doing
music
is
into
great.
radio. I went from music to radio. Personally, what we did, we were an independent band trying to go out and get our music heard and all that, and we did some pretty big shows, and we would go to radio stations and say, hey, will you play our music? And they'd say, who the hell are you guys? Get the hell out of here. Who's your manager? Who's this? So that's why we started this radio show spotlighting independent music and the people who love to make it, and that's where you fit in, John.
Yeah, well, that's great. And have you had any contacts from ASCAP or BMI?
Not yet.
Well,
I'm waiting for the phone call.
You know, they have ears out there listening, you know, and now the music has a digital thumbprint, you know. So I get flagged for my own music, you know, and then I have to place a protest on it and tell them I'm the guy. I wrote it, I recorded it, I produced it, and I published it, you know. So you can clear it up, but you know, it's like it comes with the territory.
Very true.
But it's a lot of fun doing radio. I went on the air at 4 o'clock in the morning, and when I opened up the microphone, I'd say, wake up or go back to sleep, you know? And I know I put people back to sleep too, because it's a beautiful thing if you can get some good sleep, you know? So I had a lot of fun, because I used to go fall asleep listening to the radio. I had a crystal radio in 1957. Stereo didn't happen until 1958, you know? So there was a lot of great music on the AM radio in the Bay Area when I was growing up. And I wasn't supposed to listen to radio in my bed, but I used to go to sleep with my little earpiece in, and I can tell you exactly what was on the radio back then.
Dr. Donald D. Rose.
Yeah, Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, Sink the Bismarck, Big Bad John. I like that one because my name's John, you know. And, you know, radio is a beautiful thing. And AM radio used to have a lot of great music on there. Now it's mostly FM.
Correct.
But I think it's time to bring the music back to AM radio.
Agreed. I agree 100%.
There's all talking on there. So anybody out there listening, if you're interested, do a music program on AM radio, which travels like shortwave radio in the middle of the night. You can broadcast on a normal AM radio station overseas or down to Mexico or up into Canada. You know?
Right.
And especially when the sunspots are, the propagation is right, you can be talking, you know. So contact Scott or look me up, you know. I want to get back on the radio, really.
Excellent.
You know?
All right, guys.
So thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, John. We want to thank Jon Hammond for coming on the Plowzone video show on Roku TV. Impressed with you, my friend.
Thank you, man. All right.
Thank you very much.
You know what we're doing? We're plowing through the best damn independent music right here on the Plowzone Radio Show.